Liquor Talk, brand new episode starts now. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Liquor Talk Podcast. The podcast to tell you the more you drink, the better we sound. We have hit the home stretch. This is literally the second to last episode before the grand season finale. This is the guest and subscriber appreciation episode because I really do appreciate y'all. Y'all are the reason I keep going with this podcast. Even though there's some weeks where I'm like, man, to hell with this, I still keep going for y'all. Y'all tuning in, you're tweeting what I say on the podcast, you're showing love, and also shout out to my guests and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Because y'all be making this shit happen no matter what. So now you're probably asking yourself, who is this pretty lady sitting next to me? So this is a returning guest. We opened up 2021 together. She's the host of a new podcast now, the My Introverted Thoughts podcast. It's Skorpyen, y'all. She's not new to Liquor Talk, but she's true to Liquor Talk. Welcome back to Liquor Talk, Skorpyen.
Thank you for that introduction. Give me all hype and stuff.
You know how we do, you know what I'm saying? It's a new year, the same old Liquor Talk. So I know we kicked off 2021 together. Now we in 2022 together. So how
hmm
you been doing?
I've been doing great. Thanks for asking. I've been seeing you all over the place, though. That's what this is about. This is about you. This your show. I've been seeing you all over the place doing the dang on thing. Kudos to you,
Thank you, thank
Vic. Do out here.
Thank you. I try to make it happen though. I see you doing your thing because last time I talked, you had three podcasts. Now that three done turned into a four. So what did happen, and what made you decide to start a fourth podcast?
Ooh, the fourth podcast, my introvert thoughts. Not that I didn't have enough on my plate already, but this was a podcast that was in the making for years and that I thought about for years and I kept putting off. And I created this podcast. Full disclosure, I did create a variation of this podcast on a social media platform. I think I released 2 episodes and then I took it down because it wasn't giving what I wanted to give. It wasn't really what I wanted to have happen on the podcast, and it wasn't the platform for it. And so I kept thinking about, I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And the reason that I wanted to do my introvert thoughts is because of introvert representation. Everybody gets it wrong. Not everybody, but most people get it wrong. What introverts are, how we feel, our personalities, things of that nature were often read, misjudged, things of that nature. I'll give you an example. Just today, a couple of hours ago, I was talking to a fellow podcaster and she has started working at a new place. And she's an introvert as well, and she's very quiet. And usually, if you ask her a question that she can answer with one word, she'll do that. It doesn't mean that she's sad or she's mad or she's upset or anything like that. But her new supervisor misinterpreted it. She's doing her job very well. She's staying on time with her task and things of that nature. But her new supervisor called into the office and was asking her, "Are you happy here? What's going on? You're not really talking that much." All these things pressing her instead of embracing the strengths that she brings to the table and acknowledging that she's doing a great job. You want her to be something that she's not, that is not impacting her job at all, which she's still doing well. She's on time. She's getting her assignments in on time. She's doing very well and exceeding at her task. What is the problem? So that was the incentive for me creating this podcast, to say we're just like everybody else. When you get to know us, we're silly as hell. And sometimes we'll talk your ear off. And we're the best listeners. We're very introspective. All of those things. And so I was like, let's just have a podcast where you just talk about those things and talk real about it, where it's not stuffy. It's not, you don't have to sit up straight and all of those things. No, we're just going to talk and have fun, and just you'll get to know us for being who we are. And hopefully that will take away some of the stigma and make other introverts more comfortable being themselves.
Yes, I agree. I agree with all of that. I'm gonna tell you a little fun fact about me. Before podcasting, I was introverted as hell. I was like super introverted. But even then, I still have my super introverted moments. But I know how to turn it on when I have to turn it on. So I totally feel that, and it's like I guess when you're at a job, of course you're gonna be introverted. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make this money and go home. I'm not here to try to be your best friend or whatnot. No, I'm here to make this money and I'm here to go home. So I totally feel it 100%.
Yeah, that's it. We're there to do a job, and as long as we're performing that job well, there shouldn't be a problem. As long as we're not causing any problems, which introverts rarely do, because we want to do our work and get out of there. And that all of that stigma around introverts and us feeling uncomfortable in the workplace, feeling like we have to talk about things, feeling like we have to engage, like our lunch breaks aren't ours, our hours, after work aren't ours, and we have to include other people in that when we really don't want to. Oftentimes, an introvert, when they leave from work, especially a work that entails talking to clients all day or having meetings all day, are mentally drained. And people don't understand why introverts need so much time to replenish. That's because that's the way we gain our energy, by being alone. So if you have an introvert person in your life that is telling you after they work even an office job, which people consider easy, some people consider easy, even if they have an office job where they're sitting at a desk all day, if they're engaging with folk all day, they're going to be drained and they are going to be tired and they are going to need that alone time to replenish. There's nothing like interacting with an irritated or unreplenished introvert. You don't want that.
No,
Because it's
you're
not
right.
a
You don't want that. You know what I'm saying? Because some days I have my introverted moments. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I don't want to. I'm not your therapist. I don't want to hear your problems. You know those people that'll come into work Monday morning, all talking about their problems and stuff. Talking about, if you don't shut the fuck up and do this damn job.
like, leave me alone. Like, I don't want to talk about it. I would rather do my work. Yes, maybe sometimes ask permission. The thing is, if you have an introvert in your life, give introverts permission. Ask their permission if they want to engage. That's with anybody. You don't just go up to their desk and just start talking. You say, "Hey, do you have a minute?" and let them tell you whether they have a minute or not, and then proceed that way. And oftentimes people don't do that, and so introverts feel like they're forced to talk, forced to engage, forced to do all these things. So yeah, and so hopefully this podcast does its part with helping that and helping introverts feel more comfortable embracing who they are and know that there is absolutely nothing wrong with you being an introvert.
Yes, there is nothing wrong with being an introvert because, like, so we all got our introvert moments. It's like
Mhm.
everybody we know has their introvert moments. It's like it's just simple. Like even the extroverts, even the highest moment people, they have those moods where they don't want to be dealing with nobody. But we gotta talk about go back to you for a second, man. How do
Okay.
you juggle 4 podcasts? Not
Ooh.
you have not one, not two, not three, but four. Some days I'll be like, man, fuck this shit, but you got four of them. How the hell? How do you do that? That's like a craft in itself. How the hell do you do that?
Just organization, being organized, and realizing when I want or need to take breaks for my emotional or mental or even physical health for that matter, and saying, okay, I need to take a break, and communicating with my listeners that, hey, I'm gonna be on break for a couple of weeks. And even in those times where I don't give a heads up, when I come back, acknowledging that I took a break, because that's important, and figuring out some I record at the same time. Some I stagger in recording and
Yeah.
creating. So
See,
just got to
now the
figure
thing
out what
is,
works for you.
yes, always you gotta figure out what works for you because a long, long time ago is I tried that the whole staggering thing, but then I realized I be having an itch to record and stuff. I be because something will happen in the news or so I see something crazy in relationships, and I be ready to record. I be wanting to record and stuff. So that's why it's like sometimes I stagger, but sometimes I don't. But like I said, you gotta find the best way. You know how. You know what I'm saying. So
Hmm.
what keeps you motivated to handle that many podcasts?
Because I really love what I talk about on the podcast. Each podcast, I talk about something totally different. My introvert thoughts, I'm motivated by that because I'm an introvert and I want to see that representation. So I want to represent folks that are like me that feel underrepresented. With if it isn't love, I love talking about dating and relationships, and I love music, so it incorporates those too. The Fix. I love television and movies. So that's what I do. I talk about television and movies. Smart Mouth Scorpio. I love black people. I love black people with all of my being. So that's what I'm talking about on there. Black people. So that's what keeps me motivated. You know, the things that I see, the things that I may hear. And as an introvert, I keep going back to this. Our minds are constantly working all the time. You know, even when we're trying to sleep, our minds are constantly working. We're seeing things like something that you may say this episode may inspire me to do something on a podcast. It may be something somebody said, or something that I see, a color that I see, or something that I see on the television show that may inspire me. So I get inspired by all things all the time.
I probably needed to hear this shit. Right. Right. Listen, I feel that all the way, you know what I'm saying? I feel that all the way, you know, because I be getting inspired too, just from listening to other podcasts as well, because of course I'm going to play other people's podcasts before I have them on. So I definitely feel that, you know what I'm saying? So what's your tips for people that are new to podcasting that want to have multiple shows and stuff? What's your tips?
Make sure you're interested in what you want to talk about. Don't try to adhere to anybody else's standards. That and don't compare your podcast journey to anyone else's. It's not going to be the same. So don't get discouraged by the number of listens when you first start. Don't get discouraged by any of that. And also enjoy the journey for what it is. That's most of what it is, enjoying the journey. You know, you have the part where you begin and then you have the end. But what about that in between? You need to enjoy that part because that's most of it. So
y'all know what it is, y'all. This is Liquor Talk. The more you drink, the better we sound. Shout out to all of my future guests and shout out to all my past guests, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody. One time for the roommate. She checking in, you know what I'm saying? She hear me recording and want to show love, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody that be randomly doing that as well. Cause one time I was randomly recording, some people want to hop on and stuff. I say, hey, you know, shut up. But anyway. Anyway, Skorpyen, what's been going on with you? Because I know this has just been crazy. I know you holding it down up north, you know, because people are just crazy up there, man. What's been going on with you?
people crazy everywhere. You're in Florida. So I guess you would know what crazy is, but it's crazy everywhere. People are losing their minds, doing insane things, and people are on edge. You know, even the people that are not causing all of the drama and all of the hysteria are not being terrorists and things of that nature. You know, it's just a confusing and sad and drama filled time and scary time as well. So same it's the same as it is all over the country. You know what I mean? People, we're still dealing with the inflation up here, it's hitting up here. Housing costs, the same things that everybody else is dealing with across the country.
Oh my
Some states
goodness,
more
these
than
housing
others,
costs are
same
ridiculous.
things. Hmm.
Everywhere you look, it's like when somebody told me Florida is the most expensive, I'm like, ain't no way in hell Florida is the most expensive because everywhere is so damn expensive. And also it's just so much shit going on. Gas price. I know you see these damn gas prices and
Yes.
stuff. It's crazy, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's crazy these damn gas prices. I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm about to cry. I'm about to fucking cry.
I think everybody wants to cry. We can have a collective cry. Maybe we should organize that, Vic. I nominate you as a leader to organize that collective cry just one day where everybody gets together globally and just have that cry, that release that we all need sometime. Ain't nothing wrong with crying sometimes to release that energy and feel better. You know, we'll all feel better.
Thank you. It's like I feel that because it's just goddamn like it used to be. I could fill my tank up on like 40 something dollars. I put 40. I put 40 of dollars in my car today. I'm like, my car was like, nigga, what? Give me some more. I'm like, do you not see how high these fucking gas prices are? And then they trying it. Everybody trying it everywhere. It's crazy. Jobs don't want to pay nothing. Everybody's going up. This shit is just crazy. It just makes you want to get into an introvert show and just go and disappear for months at a time.
Sometimes I think when we see things about prices, inflation, and things of that nature, I think the people that live in tiny houses have it right. The people that van dwell may have it right. You know what I mean? So they can cut costs in other areas. On one of my podcasts years ago, I spoke with a van dweller, Crystal Vanner. She van dwelled for a long time, and she's a black van dweller. Well, she no longer van dwells, but she said that she didn't ever think she would give it up. And I was like, "Are you serious?" She was like, "Yeah." She didn't think she would give it up. She eventually did, for whatever reason. But I think they have an idea there that, hey, let's be as less dependent on the economy as possible, and kind of cut costs where we can, so we don't have to deal with these things, so it doesn't hit our pockets as much and we can save. So kudos to them.
Yes, kudos to those people as well. Kudos to those people. And also, I see some people driving around their hybrid cars. I'm like, you lucky bastards, like shit. Give me a fucking hybrid car, you know what I'm saying? So I don't have to drive to work all the damn time. And then it's like, I'm seeing our government stuff putting out the money for everything, but what we need is so
Mhm.
ridiculous.
Mhm. You
It-
said it. You said it. I think the people that got the Priuses years ago, the people that you still see driving around in their Priuses, okay, maybe they had some type of intuition or premonition. And then you see people riding around in their Teslas. But you know what gets me about the cars that are strictly electric? I always wonder about charging stations. Where are you going to charge in between? Let's say you have to take a long distance trip. Those charging stations aren't everywhere. So I wonder how they manage that. I don't know. I've never looked into it. It's just something that I think of. But I think the people that have the Priuses that got into that years ago are kind of right. And then these cars, I think it's a little car. It's about $3,000 to $5,000. I think it's called a Kiani or something like that. It's really, really small. It's supposed to be really great on gas. I was like, oh my gosh, they're coming out with all these things, but the acceleration isn't all that great, all that stuff. But I don't know. I think the people that invested in those cars early on kind of had a premonition of this happening, or
Of course they did. Saw the rich people, and also I've seen them try charging stations. It's like maybe $20 or $30 to get your car to a full charge. It's
oh
it's
wow.
nothing out here. I'm like, God damn, we getting raped at the gas stations, and it's nothing to charge these damn cars. It's
Mhm.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. I think everybody's feeling it in some type of way because we're all totally dependent on the economy and capitalism in some type of way. It's all tangled together, and we got to figure out what's best for us and our livelihood, and where we can still survive and where we can still live well and all of those things. But it's getting harder and harder to figure that out. So if people haven't started thinking about that already, it's going to be much harder for them going forward. And so I would encourage people to really think about it. Yes, there's money to be made out there. However, it doesn't mean that the economy will not impact you negatively, even if you're making money. Kind of figure it out, kind of save for it, and be well.
Sorry about that. I was
No,
playing
no,
about
no
the mute
worries.
button,
No
but
worries.
I feel you on that. Everything is so ridiculous, and also the cost to get one of those things is so sky high, and they're not even trying to help you get one. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they need to issue some rebates for gas.
Please do, please do, please. They need
And
to issue some
food.
kind of rebates
Gas
or
and food.
something because these gas prices are ridiculous. And these companies are not trying to let us work from home, like we were in the pandemic. They not trying to let us work from home. I'm like, let me work from home. Shit.
I think it needs to be a rebate for gas and food because, of course, the gas prices are affecting the prices of food. All of that as well. So go ahead, Biden, issue some rebates, get it together. We're helping Ukraine. What about the people at home?
Yes. Please help us. Let us help us out. You know what I'm saying? Please, Biden, help us out because it's like your approval rate is already at 37%. So you might want to help that approval rate go up. You know what I'm saying? Because We didn't have these problems under Mr. Cryberry 45, you know.
You know what? I'll let you have that one to yourself. I will not comment because that man will not get any of my energy today. But Biden, help your people out, help the constituents out, the people that voted you in office. Do what's right. And make sure the monies get to the people that actually need it most. Sometimes during the pandemic, when resources were issued to states and states distributed it to certain counties or municipalities, depending on where you stay at, some of those funds weren't necessarily getting to the people that need it, and that was unfortunate. So people need to do better with those funds.
Yes, they do need to do better with them funds. They need to help us out. If y'all want to get reelected, goddamn it, y'all better do better with them funds. Shit.
Listen to Vic. Listen to Vic. He said, "Do better." He said, "The pockets are hurting around here." You know, and we need to plan for a rainy day. We need to it's just a difficult time all around, whether it's race relations, whether it's food costs, gas costs, housing. Homeless population is continuing to increase in certain places exponentially because of the rising prices of housing, whether it be rent or purchasing housing, whatever the case may be. And it's getting very difficult for a lot of people out here.
I get it. Yes, it's crazy out here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Liquor Talk. The more you drink, the better we sound. We are not gonna be depressed by the world. We just all we gotta do is just keep going. Thank God for podcasting, you know what I'm saying? Because of podcasting, we just keep going, keep pressing, no matter what, you know what I'm saying. We do it all, y'all. Remember, the more you drink, the better we sound. The season finale is coming real soon. Be ready for the season finale, y'all. And thank you, Skorpyen, for joining me, yo.
No, thank you for having me. When you reached out, I was like, yes, it's Vic. Of course I'll be on. Thank you for having me. I don't take it lightly when people invite me to be on their platform because it's your platform, it's your baby, it's a representation of you. So thank you for reaching out and having me on. I appreciate it. So, hey, Vic's audience. Hey, Vic's people. Um, so yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you for coming on at the last minute. You know what I'm saying? Because to all the guests out there who have came on at the last minute, who have worked on the scheduling and stuff, thank you at all. You know what I'm saying? I want to thank you all. You guys are really appreciated. I really appreciate it. I'm so grateful for you all. You guys are all the real MVPs. I appreciate you all. Look at Talk wouldn't be where it is if it wasn't for y'all. So tell me more about this. The podcast, the fourth podcast you got going on. Like what can the people expect from it?
Yeah. Well, my introvert thoughts again is my fourth podcast, my fourth baby. Again, it is a representation of introverts, my representation, my experience as an introvert. I do have a few guests, fellow podcasters on this season, and they're sharing their experience, what it's like being an introvert, moving through this extroverted world, and some of the impacts of that, how when they first found out they were figured out that they were introverts, when you could first put a name to it, some of those experiences, and a lot of our experiences are shared. And that's a great thing about being an introvert is when you can connect with a fellow introvert and you're like, yeah, and they instantly get it, and you don't have to over explain, and they accept you for who you are. And that's what I wanted to do with this podcast. So I'm hoping that this is what it does, and it provides people, other introverts can see themselves in my stories and my experiences and things of that nature. We talk about personality test. We talk about the latest episode. The newest episode that's coming up. I have a fellow podcaster coming on, and she'll be sharing some of her experiences. I shared an experience where a family member didn't necessarily want to call me weird, and I was and they call me eccentric. I was like, it's okay. You can call me weird. It's okay. You know, I have an episode where I'm talking about where someone that I was seeing at the time popped up over my house unannounced, and how that's a no-no, especially for an introvert. Don't care if you're family, friend, or what have you. Don't pop up on an introvert without a call first because you won't get in. I share an experience on this recent episode that was just released about bombing at public speaking. And how now I do a lot of public speaking and how that seems to work out. But yeah, and maneuvering through this world as an introvert and embracing that and loving who I am.
Yes, and you are doing your thing. You are beasting at the public speaking thing. So it's like when she came out with the introvert thoughts, I'm like, I promise you, you didn't strike me as an introvert, but I get where you're coming from, because you didn't come off as an introvert to me.
Most people don't think that. They think that I'm an introvert because I have learned how in certain spaces. See, this is the thing. An introvert, the true meaning of an introvert, right? The simplest definition is the introvert replenishes by being alone. They have to have that alone time, and it gives them energy. Extrovert replenishes by being in social environments, by being around people and getting that energy from. So that's that's how that goes. So I can be in public spaces. I can interact, sometimes, but I just have to choose when I want to interact and be in public spaces. I can, be on lives. I can be in the clubhouse rooms and all that stuff. But I monitor my time within those spaces and regulate my time within those spaces so that I know how much energy that I am depleting or giving away in those spaces. And then I make sure that I have time when my day has ended to replenish so I can show up and do my best the next day.
That's real. That's real. Now I can't wait for to come on your podcast. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We've been talking about making stuff happen. We're gonna make something
Mhm.
happen. Yeah, we got definitely gotta make something happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, because
We
you were supposed to show up on one of my other podcasts and he never came. Can y'all believe
Listen,
that?
I know
He
shit happens. I
never came.
will redeem myself. I will be there. Usually, especially for that introvert thoughts, because I got some definitely introverted thoughts. I definitely got introverted thoughts. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, and I think I just want to share this with your audience since we're talking about it. A few ways that you can tell if you're truly an introvert. Where perhaps I'll share about three or four, five things. If you're in a crowded space with your friends and you still feel alone, right? If you avoid most social interactions, right? If you spend a lot of time alone and you're perfectly fine with that. If you avoid a lot of phone calls, or if you, let's say, if you, I know extroverts do this too, but if you screen your phone calls, right? If you screen your phone calls all the time, you may be an introvert. If, let's say, you replenish by being alone. That's the only way that you can replenish is by being alone. And if you are irritable quickly in social interactions or crowded spaces, those are indications that you may be an introvert. There are a lot of other things that go into that as well, because a lot of people like to say they're an introvert if I like to be alone too. Yeah, but are you more, do you feel comfortable being alone for extended periods of time? Can you go days without talking to people and feel perfectly okay with that? When you have the opportunity to be out with people you like or being alone, are you choosing the outing with people you like more often than you're choosing to be alone? Those are things that tell you whether you're an introvert or not. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you if you're choosing to be alone rather than interacting. It's perfectly okay. But society will tell you that you should be an extrovert. That's not okay. That's not okay for society to tell you because that is harmful to the person that doesn't necessarily want to interact in that way. And you may not be antisocial. You just may be asocial. Antisocial is a pathology. Asocial is not. Introversion is not a pathology. So
Yes, I agree with all of those thoughts, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like as introverts, you know what I'm saying, you don't really feel like going out there, you know what I'm saying? You don't really feel like going out there. You don't feel like doing it, but you have to, you know what I'm saying? But it's something in us that is turns us on, you know, that we know how to turn it on when we have to turn it on because it's crazy, you know, because society is just so messed up. You know, so society is so messed up, and they're thinking that everybody has to be an introvert, an extrovert just to make it. But some of us are introverts, meaning we know how to be both. You know.
Mhm. And that is the thing, being an ambivert, where you have the combination of being an introvert and an extrovert. And that's the real thing. Some and that there's a place for that. I don't necessarily talk about ambiversion on my podcast. I talk more about introversion because I think that ambiverts can skate by a lot of times and not have that laser focus on them, and oftentimes don't feel that isolation or get targeted often, as much as
Yeah,
introverts do.
yeah. It's because sometimes you got how to master it. Because some ambiverts haven't mastered it. Like sometimes you know how to put on the face. You know you've mastered it, but it's like I guess if you look engaging, they're not going to target you. But the minute you look like you about to go into a shell, that's when they might really come after you and might come for you. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Mhm. Let me say this, there are a few a few workplaces that that embrace the characteristics of an introvert, and that just depends on which job you hold, what position you play within the company. If you have a position where you don't have to interact with folks much, then people tend to not really bother you too much. But if you're in one of those positions where you're constantly needed, and your colleagues have to talk to you often, or you're constantly dealing with clients or customers, depending on what industry you work in, then that puts more of the focus on you, because sometimes people expect people in certain positions to be more friendly and more talkative. Do you know what I mean? Or more
Yes.
outgoing, so to speak. I
Yes.
don't want to put friendly on it, because introverts are friendly, dependent upon the circumstance. Um, but want you to be more outgoing and talkative. So,
Yes, that's so true. And it's like, and the one thing about introverted is like sometimes it takes a while to warm up. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, for example, if it's cold outside, you can't just go turn your car on. You know what I'm saying? Expect it to go. No, you got to turn it on and let it warm up. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
Not all of us have Teslas where we just hit a certain button on our phone, you know, and the bitch just starts defrosting. I'm like, damn, how the hell you do that? Motherfucker just pull out their phone, hit a few buttons, and make the bitch defrost. No, we gotta warm up. You know what I'm saying? Because I know I'm that way. It's like I'm social once I'm warmed up to. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Once I've warmed up to my surroundings and stuff. You feel me?
That's it. That's it. Oftentimes you'll see an introvert when they're in a new space, they'll be off to themselves. And sometimes it's not that they won't interact, it's just that they have to choose when they will interact and with whom they'll interact. So sometimes we'll go in a space, and we'll be in a corner somewhere, and we'll just be surveying, people watching, trying to determine the atmosphere, the vibe, pick up on the vibe of the place. And that's okay too. But oftentimes those introverts that look very confident, if they have the appearance of confidence but they're quiet, they'll be mislabeled as stuck up.
Yes.
And that's unfortunate, because what that does, it doesn't make them want to warm up. It makes them actually want to retreat and not engage. It has the opposite effect of what people think it has.
Yes, it does. It definitely has the opposite effect because we're like, because sometimes being introverted, we could be misunderstood because it's like, because I've had family members say, oh, he's stuck up. He just stuck up. No, I'm just surveying the room, filling out where my vibe is and stuff and figuring out what's what, you know, because it's like I might not be able to open up to you because your vibe ain't right. You feel me?
Mhm. That is it. It's a vibe thing. It's an energy thing. And we're going to think of, and based upon that interaction with you, and how we think over it in our heads after we have retreated and we think of it and we're deciphering what happened. Why did that happen? Why did this person say this? Well, what was my body language like? Or did I say something? Or did I look a certain way? And we'll think of all those things in our head, and that will depend upon whether we will ever give you a chance to befriend us again or if we'll ever engage with you again. Because your misinterpretation of the quietness is an insult.
Yes, it's a big ass insult. So that's why sometimes I often say I feel like I'm misunderstood because it's like I'm just quiet chilling. You think it's, oh, he just standoffish and stuff. It's like you just gotta break us down. It's you can't just instantly, hey, how you doing? Now sometimes if we have to, we will tap into that place sometimes, but not all the time.
Mhm. That's absolutely it. It just depends, and sometimes, again, like I said earlier, when you get to know an introvert and you gain our trust and our confidence and we're comfortable with you, we're sometimes the most silly people that you will ever meet. We're sometimes the most engaging, people you'll ever meet, and most introverts are sometimes the most informed people, especially within the workplace. Why? Because they've taken the time to observe. They're seeing
Yes.
things that other people aren't seeing, and they're quiet, so they're doing more listening than talking. So, yeah.
Yes, that's so true. You know what I'm saying? So, and now, how did you manage to be an introvert but manage to push out podcasts? Or has podcast just become that outlet for you? Because I know it has been for me. You feel me?
Yeah, it a lot of podcasters are introverts. Roughly half of podcasters that I meet, sorry, my chair's rubbing against this desk. Roughly half of the podcasters that I meet are introverts. And it is an outlet because we get to choose when we want to talk, who we want to talk to. If we don't want to engage, we don't have to. So, and then you see a lot of solo podcasters, and that's why, because we get to choose. It's not that we don't have thoughts and opinions. That's all we do is think. That's all we do. That's all we do is think and observe. So we have a lot of opinions about a lot of things. And so being able to have a platform to speak about them on is empowering. So yeah, so that's how I'm an introvert on because I replenish afterwards. Nobody, I may not talk to anybody else today after this, other than probably family. But other than that, I may not talk to anybody else. I may not even go back on social media today after this.
Mm.
So
Wow,
that,
that's
yeah.
powerful. I feel you there. It's like, because it's like we done talked, we done got our thoughts out and stuff. And it's just social media is just every day you find another reason to get crazy and stuff. So,
Mhm.
like now, shifting gears though. Now, how do introverts manage in relationships? How do introverted women manage in relationships? You know what I'm saying?
What do you mean?
Because sometimes you try to figure out if somebody's into you or not, and sometimes the silence and the standoffishness, it means it's like, okay, maybe they're not into me or what's going on, you know. So
It's about gaining the confidence and the trust. That's ultimately what it's about. It's about gaining confidence and trust to make people feel safe enough to open up to you and to share those things with you. And that's what it is. So it's just like any other circumstance with the introvert. They have to warm up to you and feel like they are safe, and then they will tell you. And sometimes it's introverts oftentimes don't like to talk unless we have something significant to say. Sometimes small talk can be very annoying. It could be very annoying sometimes. Doesn't mean we don't vibe with you. Doesn't mean we don't like you. It doesn't mean we don't rock with you. Doesn't mean we don't support you. But sometimes the small talk can become mundane and boring and annoying. And so we just don't want to do it. But it doesn't mean that we don't like sharing space with you. Like sitting on the couch or the sofa or what have you with your significant other as an introvert. That's quality time. That's sharing space where that person can exist and do what they want to do, and the introvert can exist and do what they want to do by being quiet, maybe even social scrolling social media, reading a book, or whatever the case is. But it doesn't mean that they don't like you because they don't talk to you. It's like you have to trust the person enough to allow them the space to tell you how they feel. You ask them how they feel, and depending upon what they tell you, that's what you go with. Because You have to trust that the person that you're with is going to tell you the truth. And that's what you go with until they tell you otherwise or actually show you otherwise. Now, if you tell an introvert, hey, it makes me really uncomfortable when you're quiet all the time. And they may say, okay, I'll try to talk a little more. And that may be the case, but don't expect them to become chatty Cathy all the time. That's not going to happen. But they may try to do other things that they know will show you that they like you. So let's say you like cheesecake, right? And so let's just say every Friday they're popping up with some cheesecake for you to show you that they like you and that they're paying attention to what you say. So oftentimes when you tell introvert things about yourself, the way that you know that they'll like you is that those things will come up, especially if you're telling them certain things that you like certain shows that you like, certain desserts or foods that you like, um, certain clothing things that you like, certain places that you like to go. Sometimes they'll show you in those ways that they're paying attention and that they actually rock with you, even if they're not verbally saying, hey, I really like you. They're showing you that they like you.
That's real. That's real. You know what I'm saying? And I respect that because let somebody show me that they like me, I will show them right back in return. Now, talk to me about this. Now, if this is a little personal, I understand if you say no, but talk about your dating experiences as an introvert. Like, is it a challenge or what is it like as an introverted woman,
Okay.
introverted woman?
Okay, as an introverted woman, to be very clear, I have not dated in 6 years. I have not dated in 6 years. But prior to that, it it was difficult in this not difficult. In certain times it was difficult because I felt like I was dating other introverts too sometimes. And so
So then they would probably understand what you're going through sometimes.
that is true that they will understand what you're going through sometimes. But sometimes you would get into spaces where male introverts sometimes are a little different than female introverts in the sense that the really not saying anything can go really, really far. And so you're not getting as much information. Other times I would date introverts. My experience is just like anybody else's experience with dating. I had the good, I had the bad, I had the ugly, I had the super ugly. It's really good. My experiences were just like anybody else, trial and error. Some people you really vibe with, some people you don't. Some people get your humor, some people don't. You know, just like anybody else. Yeah.
Damn, not the stupid ugly. Hey, we've all had the stupid ugly experiences. Introvert, ambivert, extrovert, omnivert, whatever vert. We've all had stupid experiences and we live to tell about them. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
At least we didn't wind up on Snap because I'm like, them people right there.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Right. Let me knock on some wood.
Yes, knock on some wood that we don't end up on Snap or something like that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Liquor Talk. The more you drink, the better we sound. To all the subscribers, to all the guests out there. And also, one time for the subscribers, though. It's one time for the ones that don't just hit subscribe, but they actually playing your shit, you know what I'm saying? Because I know you a podcast, you know how it is when people subscribe, but they just tap the subscribe button, but they don't be playing your stuff. They don't run them numbers up. But if you out there run up the numbers, we
Run the
really
numbers up.
appreciate them. We really appreciate you.
Yes, run the numbers up, tap into episodes, even if you don't listen to even if you can't listen to the whole thing, listen to some of it, rate the podcast, thumbs up, 5 stars, depending on where you listen to it at. You want to know why? Because that encourages podcasters to continue to bring you content. And then they know the
Hello.
things that you do and don't like. So if it's a certain episode that you really like, comment what you liked about that episode so they can give you more of what you like.
Yes, yes, please do. Like I said, this is the subscriber and guest appreciation episode. Your man Vic, I really appreciate all of y'all. I really appreciate every guest I've had on. The ones, whether it's your first time or whether you are all pro over here like Skorpyen and been on multiple times. I really do appreciate y'all. And the season finale is right around the corner, literally after this episode. Skorpyen, what's the question you want to ask the black men? Because I'm gonna have a group of four to five black men on. We're just gonna have a round table. What's something on a woman's mind that you want to ask the men?
Mhm. you know what? I was not expecting that question, Vic. You got me thrown for a loop right there because I'm not one of the. I often don't think about the. I see a lot in in this culture now where there's a certain separation between black men and black women, and people are perpetuating that. But I think often more men and black women get along than what you would see on social. Um, so I would just I don't know. I don't necessarily have a
If it
question
don't
for
come to
black
you right
men.
now, you can
I
always
don't.
DM me.
Yeah, I don't have a particular question other than, something that I would ask someone that I was dating or interested in, those personal questions, because I don't have a collective answer, a collective question for black men as a whole, because I don't think the answers that I would get will be representative of all black men. So I don't really have a question.
Wow, you the second person I've ever asked. I asked plenty of women that they always have something to say. So you're the
Yeah.
second one that's ever said I don't have anything. Shout out to Sydney from Annoyed but Offended podcast. She said the same thing during season 3. She just said I didn't have a question for the black men. But if you think of something, let me
I
know. I'll
will.
definitely ask the fellas.
Now, let me say that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate black men. That's not what I'm saying.
Mhm.
I'm just simply saying that I don't have a question for the collective. You know, I just don't have a question for the collective. Besides,
It's understood.
I have a comment to say that I appreciate the good ones, the ones that are when I say good, that's good in my opinion, that are set on treating and loving and protecting and representing black women in positive light. So I appreciate y'all.
Hey, we appreciate you too. Listen, so what's the plan for the podcast? Are you really still gonna push all 4 podcasts this year?
I am. I am. So, if you didn't know, I pulled 3 of my podcasts from the hosting site that I won't mention for a while because of an affiliation with someone that used racial slurs and racial rhetoric. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna drive listens to this particular platform, so I had to pull it, right? Because my hosting site was owned by that larger company. And so the hosting site also pushed my podcast to that larger company. And even if they didn't push it there, that larger company would still be receiving something from listens going to that hosting site, if that makes sense. If you're a podcaster, you kind of get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I pulled it. And so now I'm in the process of pushing them all back out on a different hosting platform, and they'll be back on all platforms very soon within like 2 to 3 weeks. Probably within a week and a half, actually. It just takes a little time for certain sites to accept the updates. But my introvert thoughts are available on all major podcast listening platforms except for Spotify.
That's real. That's real. I understand now. We'll talk a little bit about Spotify a little later. But my last thing, why should people tap in with Introvert Thoughts? I know you're a dope podcaster. I'd have
Yeah.
had you on multiple episodes of Liquor Talk. You're a dope podcaster. You're a dope individual. I see you hosting events as well that make me not think you're an introvert, but tell the people why they need to tap in with you, Skorpyen.
I would hope you would tap it because you vibe with my vibe. I would hope that. And I would hope that you would tap in because you are interested in what I have to say and the representation on my introvert thoughts and the other podcasts, because my goal is to represent us well in all instances, whether I'm talking about black people specifically or whether I'm talking about something broadly. I'm still a representation of us, and I hope that I'm representing us well in your eyes and that you would tap in with that. So tap in.
Yes, yes, please tap in. And thank you, Scorpion. I want to thank you. You are the real MVP. You came on a short notice. Most times, most of my guests, they know like a month in advance beforehand, but you came on short notice. I really appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? You are definitely the real MVP in my book. And whenever you're ready to have me on, remember, I might be in Florida, but I'm just one DM away. I'm ready to make it happen. So let's do this thing.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We're gonna make it happen. See, y'all heard him. Y'all heard him this time say he was gonna actually be on. So okay, we're gonna see.
Yes,
We
all you gotta do is
gon'
just hit me
see.
up and throw out a date and we'll go from there. And thank you, the listener, for listening to this episode of Liquor Talk. Thank you for pouring up with me, whatever you own, whether if you even if you don't drink, you know what I'm saying? You have something in your cup and you would tune into Liquor Talk. Or if you put one in the air, if you're 420 friendly, hey, I want to thank you for that as well. Remember to tap in with Liquor Talk and subscribe everywhere on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. This is on wherever you get your podcast at. Tap in because Liquor Talk is everywhere. Remember, we're taking up for the 22 and the 23. And listen, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. The next episode, we will close season 4. Until next time,
Ooh, season
we out.
4.
We out this thing. Good night, y'all. Good night.
Peace, y'all. Thank you, Vic.